Welcome to Mastering the Numbers, your go-to podcast for a deep dive into the world of business and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Joe Mallo. Join me as I sit down with successful business owners to uncover their journeys, learnings, successes, and future plans. From market trends to personal stories of triumph, Mastering the Numbers delivers invaluable insights to fuel your own entrepreneurial spirit. So grab a seat and get ready to be inspired. All right, welcome back everyone to Mastering the Numbers. This is Joe Mallo again with the Lead Edge Consulting Group. We are powered by Focal Point Business and Executive Coaching. Today, we're honored to have Tryf Christoforou, managing partner at 3CRE Real Estate. Tryf, thanks for being a part of the interview series.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity and the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to get all the information we already talked about out to the audience. You got a lot of great things going. Can you do us a favor and tell us about 3CRE?
Yeah, sure. 3CRE was started. I was 24 years old, and I started it with my business partner, Michael Constantini. It's about 10 years old now. We like to call ourselves now more of a regional boutique brokerage. So we're licensed in 3 states, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So all along in 71 and 75, with plans to still expand. But we are a full service brokerage. So what does that mean? We specialize in investment sales and acquisitions. We do leasing on the commercial side as well. We've got 3 other business units within, one of them being 3CRE Asset Management, which is where we're able to actually manage the investments for our investors from a property management standpoint, accounting standpoint, and leasing standpoint. We created 3CRE Business Brokers under the umbrella, which allows us to do business sales, acquisitions, and dispositions of businesses, mergers and acquisitions at some level. Yeah. And then recently in 2021, we started the 3CRE Residential Advisors. So we brought in a group of agents that also specialize in selling residential homes. And one thing Mike and I, we kind of grew into that within the 3CRE umbrella. But one thing we always wanted to do was have a brokerage shop where an investor could come in or a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord could come in and get a full length of services under one shop. And what you usually see in the real estate industry, especially on the commercial side, is that only a certain group specializes in industrial or office or retail shopping centers or multifamily. And we're very horizontal in the sense that we're specialized in all of those, and we've got agents that are vertical within those different arenas. And really, that's why we wanted to grow the team. So it started off as a team of 2. We then brought on an agent named Gabriella, who started off as our Instagram poster. She wasn't an agent at the time. She's now one of our senior agents that deals in a lot of our retail settings. But we're now up to about 42 agents here within the brokerage. We've got an office in Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Northern Kentucky, and one in Tennessee.
That's great. So within those 42 agents that are out there, there's a lot of specialists in each of those different areas. So it's not relying on one person that thinks they know everything. There's a lot of individuals that are really specialized in those different areas. Is that right?
It is. And, I think one thing, sometimes as agents, we try to do too much. So I'm the founder. I have a good sense of how to do every type of deal. But you'll find that even myself, I bring in other agents that are specialized in those asset types to help me. You've got to do right by the client. And that's one thing that sometimes people don't realize. So if someone brings me we just recently sold a bar in Cincinnati. I own the business brokering company, but I brought in one of my specialists to help facilitate that deal. And him and I worked together on the deal because ultimately we wanted to create the most value for both the seller, who we represented, and then we ended up representing a local buying group here as well. And I wanted to make sure we're putting our best foot forward. So yes, you've got to be horizontal, and we are horizontal in the services we provide, but you also have to be a specialist. You don't want to be a generalist in everything. I always say, I don't want to know a little bit about everything, and if you have that mantra, it's going to really start affecting the client because they're not going to get that level of service. So making sure, and as we grew the company, we wanted to bring teammates and other agents that could help add value to our company, and complement the skills and value that Mike and I had started, or we brought when we first initiated.
Yeah.
That's great. That's the right type of team. So let me ask you this. I mean, so multiple different entities that you put together. What inspired you to start your own business?
I don't know. I've always been like that. So my dad was a corporate employee for a very large company, top 50 company in the world. We moved all over the world. I graduated high school in Asia, in Singapore. Was born in Australia, lived in Puerto Rico, probably moved about 4 or 5 different school districts in Cincinnati. I didn't want anyone dictating from an early age what I could and couldn't do. And my dad had a successful career, was there for 35 years, did very well. But, if they picked up the phone and told me you got to move here in order to progress your career, it was probably something he had to do and didn't have a choice, or
Yeah.
you would have to find somewhere else to go. And I just, from a young age, I just didn't want that. And,
Yeah.
I was an entrepreneur from a young age. I was, when Costco first opened, I remember this in Cincinnati. I used to have my mom go and buy warheads and candy in bulk, and I would sell it at school. I ended up getting suspended. So I think it's always been an entrepreneurial spirit in me. My heritage is Greek. So every Greek, the generalization, they all own a business or a restaurant, and
Right.
I was always around that, and so being around that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, it's always something that kind of spoke to me. I didn't necessarily know I was going to get into real estate and own a brokerage. In college, I was selling cars commission. But I've never had a job where I was full salary or even had a
Yeah.
salary. It's
Yeah.
always been commission based my entire life, and I wouldn't have it any other way because I found ways to make that commission turn into a salary, if that makes sense. So,
Right. Oh, it
um,
does completely.
yeah. So, I mean, that's probably, it came from a young age. So I think maybe resenting the corporate world a little bit, even though it provided so much good for me,
Yeah.
and being around a lot of entrepreneurs, as I grew up through college and my
Yeah.
professional life.
Yeah. It's just another way for you to learn from your parents,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, what drove you into real estate instead of any other area?
Yeah, so I graduated college in 2020, I'm sorry, 2010, and got into the mortgage world right away. So I was on the financing side of things. My best friend and one of my mentors was the owner of that bank, and
Okay.
I didn't even have to job interview. He basically said, "I'm hiring you, and come work for me." And so I really became enriched in real estate through the financing side. We were doing loans, and I started learning how to underwrite and appraisal processes and all that. And as I, that was in 2010. So we had come off the Great Recession. At that time, the government had put a lot of programs and loans where we could make a
Yeah.
lot of money and sell loans and refis, and rates at the
Right.
time were in the sixes, and then they went to the fives, the fours, the threes, and the high two. So we had a lot of repeat clients. So I did that for about 4.5 years with the same company from 20 to 24, 25. And in the interim, I started investing, and we had bought our first apartment building with my father, and just started learning the business of multifamily.
Yeah.
My family is also a local developer here in Cincinnati. They have built numerous apartments and shopping centers and office buildings and all types of real estate. And at the time, my uncle told me to go meet the broker that had sold a 168 unit apartment building. And I said, yeah, I'll go talk to him. So we had a coffee, and actually Mike was at that meeting, my business partner, and came to that lunch meeting. We didn't know we'd be partners, obviously, and I didn't even know I was going to make the jump. I was commissioned at the bank, but I ended up being in a management position, so I was getting a cut of, some of the volume that we were bringing in from all the loan officers. So
Yeah.
essentially, to become a salary, and I could control kind of my destiny with what I wanted to make. But then I met the broker, and he goes, you'd be really good at this. And he showed me the closing statement. I won't lie. And I saw the commission on that. And I said, wow, you made that on one deal? And he said, yeah, I did. But one thing you've got to remember is we get paid when the deal closes, but it's months and months of work. And I didn't
Right.
really grasp that in the beginning. Um, so, eventually I made the jump. I went to go get my real estate license while I was still working at the bank, and then finally made the transition. And then, believe it or not, I was put into the office. It was a national brokerage. I was put in the office, and they put me in the same office as Mike again.
Oh,
And we were back to back. And ultimately, he had a lot of property management experience. He had owned about 300 units at the time that he had sold. So he became my mentor within the real estate world, and we forged a relationship. And it's been a great relationship. He's been a great mentor, and now we're partners in everything.
That's great. So share with us, what have been some of your biggest struggles or biggest challenges with growing the business, and how you overcame them?
In the beginning, it was more of a partnership, so it was just the two of us. So it wasn't, we definitely viewed it as a business because we had put a budget together, marketing, and social media at the time was kind of starting, with the Instagrams and Facebook ads, and
Right.
I'm talking 2014. I know it sounds
Right.
very, very foreign, but it was newer.
Yeah.
And Google, obviously, with SEO and things like that. So we'd always put a budget. And as we grew that partnership, we realized that it's either you got to grow or you're just going to sustain, and there's only so much two people can do as they want to grow. And ultimately, you have to take steps in order for that growth. Some of the challenges, number one, was knowing when to grow. I think at first the issue was we had to establish who we were as a brand, which was hard. I was 25, 26. Mike had just got into the brokerage world. He had been an investor and done property management, but we had to really create our footprint, and we were competing against people that had been doing it for a long time. So just creating that footprint. We didn't close our first deal for about 5 or 6 months, and in commercial, those are kind of the deal cycles. You're usually 90, 120 days, 160, and really it was just establishing the relationships. And then why is someone going to listen to them? Why is a seller going to listen to a 25-year-old kid who wants to sell a $2 million property that's never done it before? So there was different challenges I had to kind of establish myself. So I just used the strengths I had. I thought I was good at sales. I always pick up my phone. I still do. I thought I could out hustle all the 60 and 70-year-olds that were in the business for 40 years. I knew how to use technology. So I had to find differentiators. So that was a little bit of a challenge, just establishing that. And you start on a quad, then it's a 6-unit, then a 20-unit apartment building, then a 40, and it takes time to establish that. And luckily, me partnering with Mike also kind of cut that in half because Mike had the experience too. So going back to what I was saying, you've got to partner with people, people that are really going to help you. I don't have all the answers, and to be quite frank, I don't think a lot of people would have gave me their $5 million listings at the time, or $2 million listings if I didn't have Mike with me, because they're gonna be like, my God, he doesn't know what he's doing. So that was the first challenge. The next challenge is, okay, we're under a national brand. How's it going to be going full independent? Have we established enough of a footprint right now in Cincinnati, Columbus, Ohio, Northern Kentucky? Have we established enough of a footprint to be able to say, hey, we're going to split away from the national brokerage we were with? And then you have to get your broker's license. You have to take the other classes. You have to do more courses. It's a special licensure. And then the third challenge was, as we grew, we started with 5 here. So we had been recruiting and started, but then it's what pieces do you need to grow is the next challenge. So do you want a bunch of people that are like you that are going to do the same thing? Or, my director of business brokering was Brett Post. He's an agent as well. He runs our Columbus office. We met him through a deal, and he goes, have you heard of business brokering? We said, no. And he said, let me tell you how it's going to benefit you guys as well. When you sell a business, there's always real estate involved with it. You're either doing a new lease, or you're selling a property, or they're buying a new property. So, we're like, Brett, that's great. Get your real estate license. We'll do the business brokering. Let's create it under 3CRE. And then we start expanding that way. So you find things that complement you in order to grow. And that's really the challenge. It's the budget. There was a lot of months we paid rent where we didn't know it was going to come from, or how are we going to pay the next bill? Or how do you sign up for a subscription service like a LoopNet or CoStar that says it's a 3-year commitment? How do you rent an office and sign a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease? It's all risk. Putting a good business plan together and trying to have some sort of clarity. And then we made in 2018, 2019, we really made the effort to say we're going to grow. And by growing, you need to bring people. So we went out and recruited and found more agents, and we've had a really good retention rate of those agents because they feel, creating a company culture, that's important. That's a challenge. What does that look like? So Entrepreneurship has all types of challenges. As you know, Joe, you're also an entrepreneur. You wear a lot of hats, CFO, CEO, accounts receivable, accounts payable. You're also trying to do transactions at the same time. So, it's a challenge. It's challenging, but no risk, no reward either. And
That's right.
luckily for us, we've had a good partnership, which it can also be a challenge. Making sure your guys, everyone's vision is the same. And Mike's older than me, and he was at a different point in his life. But I always say he took a risk with me, and he could have said, "This is risky. I don't want to do this. I want to, stick to something that's a little bit more stagnant." But he saw the good in that too, and now we're reaping the benefits of creating a great company and culture, and being one of the top brokerages in the region.
Yeah. So that kind of brings me with everything, with all the transitions from the national brand to starting your own and adding the different entities within 3CRE. Did you have advisors or consultants or mentors that were there to help walk you through it or help you through struggles?
Yes and no. I would say we don't have an official board per se, but you bring on people, and a lot of our, one thing that's really nice is we deal with a lot of investors, and some of them, we have an investor that we've done deals with that owns $1 billion in real estate. That's a guy you pick his brain all the time.
Right.
Hey, we're facing this issue, we're facing that. So being in this realm within real estate too, it's really introduced us to a lot of investors and people that are investors that own their own businesses and are entrepreneurs themselves. They're taking risks as well. Now it's in the real estate realm, but they're taking a risk. They're buying a piece of property, they're putting their hard-earned dollars. But that didn't all come from real estate. They had a day job, or they opened a business, and now they want to kind of spread out their portfolio to real estate and stocks and bonds and different types of investments that help diversify their portfolio as well. So it's almost like a unofficial board. And when you come up with problems, you're able to talk to these people and you forge relationships and friendships where you bring it up. So yeah, I would definitely say that. Going back to my father, I talked about in the beginning, I resented the corporate world. Well, he worked for a company, Procter and Gamble, and they have a lot of good qualities about him. And he was in that, he was in a pretty good position there. So he's able to look at things from a 30,000-foot view, because sometimes also when you're in the trenches, you only kind of have those horse blinders on, and your day to day, you can't see outside the box sometimes. So you do have to bring in outsiders, and our accounting team, we've had the same accountant since we started, who gives us ideas on how to run things financially. We've got a plethora of attorneys that we use for real estate deals and personal and things like that, that also can give us advice on how to set up corporations or LLCs and different things like that too. So it's not official, but yeah, I think it all plays into the relationships you build and the people you surround yourself with. You're able to bounce ideas, and we also help them in return. I have a lot of our investors and partners that we do business with that ask me, how would you handle this? And you feed your advice off each other and take what you want, and then you try to execute it.
Yeah. I've always felt that it's powerful to have those types of resources and those types of individuals to bounce ideas off of, and especially when there's challenges going on. So is there when you look back at the last 10 years, is there anything that you would have done different in growing the businesses? Not different career, but just different in growing the businesses?
I would say, where I'm at now, I'm very happy. I think one thing you've just got to always prepare yourself is that no one's ever going to treat the business like it's yours. So, there's sometimes, like work-life balance, for instance, everyone talks about, well, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. And, that for me, so we're up at 7, and sometimes you're going to bed at 10, 11. I was on a call recently, and one of our clients is in Asia that's buying property, and they're on a 13-hour time difference. Well, you got to be up later to talk to them. That's just the way it goes for the deal to get closed. So you got to do a little bit of a better balance. But I think, one thing I would say is you want to create that culture as soon as you can. I think that's something that we had a culture, but as you bring in these people, you have to make sure they exemplify, and you want them to reflect the culture that you want, because if not, it can be an issue later down in the road. And, we've terminated people have left because they don't, so it happens. But knowing what your identity looks like and what culture you want to have within the organization is probably going to dictate who you bring in. And sometimes you bring in people that don't necessarily fit the culture, and you look at it from a dollars and cents standpoint, but actually it's a short-term fix, or a short-term kind of relief, because they're bringing a few dollars and cents, but what kind of collateral damage are they doing to the rest of the company? Or is their culture not fitting in with our culture, or can that affect others within the company that may not be at a level they feel they can get to, or something of that nature? So I think culture is really key in establishing that as you grow, and making sure that, listen, as you grow, it's going to be very hard as you go from 5, 10, 20, 30, 40. It's hard to establish the culture you had when you started as 2, but just making sure that you've got those principles and those canons when people come in and say, this is who we are. And it's okay if you're not that, but if you're not, we don't want you here. And it's okay to say no sometimes.
Right.
And sometimes you grow for the sake of growing, to bring people in, and it adds a person to the roster, but really, are you growing? And that's probably a challenge, or something that, not that I would change, but I would just be more cognizant.
Yeah, it's it can be a detriment to the company by bringing in the wrong people. You see it all the time. What you think might work, just 6 months later, you're thinking, why did I do that? So,
well, I think, we use a lot of sports analogies. Look at professional sports. They don't like a coach, or there's no winning mindset there, or the culture is bad, or the players have turned. They fire them on the spot. They don't care if there's a 5-year contract or whatever's owed. I mean, universities and professional teams will get rid of coaches because they don't have a winning mindset, or because they've created a very toxic culture in the locker room that players, it's hard to attract new players and things like that. So, you've got to kind of take, sports plays a key role in our analogies here at work, because I mean, sports teams do it all the time. They just do. So it's knowing about when to cut some people loose, or when not to bring someone in.
Yeah, for sure. I forget who said it, but it was somebody famous, and it's not popping in my head. Basically said you have to be able to fire fast.
Oh yeah.
If you're gonna make mistakes in hiring. Everybody does. Doesn't matter who you are, but you have to be able to fire fast.
Identify and eliminate. Yep, definitely.
Absolutely. So you brought up a few minutes ago work-life balance. Is work-life balance something you believe in? Do you believe it's achievable? Is it something you work towards?
As I got older, 100%. When I was in my 20s, going out and having fun and traveling and things like that. As you start getting a little bit more mature, I'm in my mid-30s now. I'm getting married this year. There is different priorities. There has to be. I think it is important. We work a lot. I'm not, it's not a 35, 40-hour kind of week. We're still working a lot, but you do have to make sure you're there for the family events and the important milestones. And it's not only just being with family, it's also taking time for yourself personally. Working out, that's one thing I like to do. It's a stress release for me. I like to keep active, going to sporting events, going to dinners, going to travel, leaving the city, traveling to different countries, whatever the case might be, seeing things, and that's been big. I think in the beginning, when your mindset is, I have to build this business, if that's not the goal or the objective, and someone's trying to, change that objective, then, in the beginning, I was just pushing it away. Like, I've got to focus, I've got to do that. But now it's like, hey, I'm going to, if I have to leave early at 3:30 because I want to, and I can log back in at 7, that's okay. I'm not going to feel guilty about it anymore, and I think as you mature, that changes, but also we have done a good job of creating a very good foundation here. So I feel like, okay, I can leave for 2 weeks and travel, and nothing's going to happen that's going to, diminish the company and kill the company or anything like that. Whereas 5, 6 years ago, that was always my concern, even when I was on a trip, did this happen? Did this go? Do I need to micromanage this and things like that? But it goes too, as you grow, you have to delegate. You're not going to grow if you don't delegate and take some of that responsibility off your plate. And it's hard. It really is. I mean, I'm a type A micromanager. I used, and I like to know what's going on, but in order to grow, you cannot be that way. Or like I said, you're going to stay stagnant.
Right. Well, between work, home, do you have a support team that keeps you on track with what you're trying to do?
In terms of work at home or at work?
Well, either I mean, a support team at home or a support team at work that just kind of keeps you going.
Yeah, I mean, what's nice about our company here is a lot of the agents are younger and hungry and things like that. So they
Yeah.
work out and they do, physical activity and things like that. So there's always a little bit of a competition here as well about that and making sure, hey, go to this happy hour, go do this, go see this person. So at work, we definitely have that, and that's really embedded in our culture. We're very, very team oriented here. And as I talked to you before, we like to bring people within each assignment just to help, whether it's someone in marketing or another agent or whatever the case might be. So we've created a really good culture there. So accountability is big there. Like, Tryf, get out of the office. You've been in here for 10 hours. Get the hell out. It's a beautiful day outside. Go enjoy it, kind of thing. At
Yeah.
home too, it is. I mean, uh, our deals are cyclical. Real estate, you can have, I always say our deals, one phone call can change your day. The deal's falling apart or the deal's going to close, and it can be different
Yeah.
emotions. And sometimes you take that at home, and I've got a good partner at home where they can check me sometimes. Like, okay,
Yeah.
there's nothing you could do right now. What are you going to do? Relax. Let's go enjoy it and things. Not to say it's not on my mind, but you got to have that support system at home as well. That work isn't the only priority, and there is other things to life
Right.
that you've got to be able to do. So luckily, I do have that. I feel like it's good, but as you know, depending on what fires are out there, and if you're battling 5 or 6, sometimes work will take precedent. It's natural, and as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and business owner, it can happen. But I feel like at work and at home, we've got really, really good support systems.
That's great. I just think it's so critical to have support systems somewhere to
Yeah,
keep us level. So,
yeah.
well, how do you got a lot going on, and with all the different entities, how do you maintain your motivation and your focus to continue to push forward?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, obviously money was always motivating, but then, one thing about money is once you make it, um, it can't motivate you anymore. So, for me now, it's just building something where others can succeed within the organization. We've brought in some 20-year-old agents that, didn't necessarily go to college. They got their license and wanted to do real estate and understand
Yeah.
investment. And some of them have been with us for 3, 4 years, and just seeing that growth.
Yeah.
They're light years ahead of where I was when I was 24, 25. Even though I
Right.
started the company, to see that, I think is powerful. So mentorship for me is really big. For one thing, I always tell our newer people that start with us is like, just be coachable, because I'm going to teach you stuff, not what not to do, because I've done it. And just
Right.
understand that I want to give you advice so you can prosper even faster, and your curve is exponent. It's not a huge curve. You can go straight exponentially up, versus a huge learning curve. And
Yeah.
so that definitely motivates me. I mean, there's other things. Obviously, we compete with other brokerages and things like that. So getting that listing, from a internal standpoint, is a good feeling. People calling
Yeah.
us and saying, "Hey, I recognize your name." Creating that regional footprint has been huge for me. We've got a brand, people know it. It's on social
Yeah.
media. We've created great websites, good foot traffic. So, being able to do that has been really, really fulfilling. So, I think that's what allows me to come to work every day. And then
Yeah.
meeting clients. I think every day is different. I always say, when you close a deal, you just got fired. You're no longer dealing with that deal. So you have to go out and meet people and network. And
Yeah.
it's amazing how much you can meet and learn from other people. So
Right.
that's what I love, because we do business brokering, we do leasing. So you're putting companies and other businesses in and educating them, and they're educating you. And so that's motivational as well. And there's been a lot of business opportunities come up because of that. So it's motivating. So yeah, in the beginning, I would say definitely money. I mean, but as you mature and grow and you build a company, one thing, if I'm here for 20 years and 3 series around, I want to leave something for the next
Yeah.
the next wave. So
Right.
whether it's my family or the agents within that grow within with us. So that's motivating for me.
Yeah. Right. So where do you see your business in the next 12 to 36 months?
Good question. I didn't know where it was going to be like 36 months ago in COVID, and we all
Yeah.
thought the worst, and it turned out to be some of the best years. And then we went through a cycle now. The next 24 to 36 months, I mean, I think right now the past 6 to 8 have been very uncertain with just where the economy is. Obviously, we're tied heavily to the economy, where interest rates are, inflation, people spending habits, things like that. So, we've had to adjust as well. Next, I think it's a positive outlook. I think we've kind of rode the wave per se, where the worst has already come. I don't know if it's going to get any worse. It looks like we're on the right track, but
Right.
what do I see? I see bringing on more agents. I see more assignments. Today we had an assignment where it's a 4 or 5 kind of agent assignment. Because it's going to be hopefully 100,000 square feet of activity we're going to have to manage and do some leasing on, and seeing assignments like that excites me, for the growth.
Yeah.
And I think as we have more agents and they put out the word of who we are and 3CRE and all the business units that we do have and all the services we can provide really growing. So I think we're going to be growing. I think, like I said, the economy, I think, is only going to get better. We'll see after the election season. It's an interesting one, but
Yeah.
I like I said, I think rates will come down. Everyone's predicting it, hopefully in Q3, Q4, and then that'll bleed into 25. And then as that happens, then more investors will come back into the market, and hopefully our business can grow from that standpoint. So a personnel standpoint, I think we can grow. And then we've got some investment plays that we're playing on too. So hopefully we can do some investing.
Great. Well, listen, I hope you get there. I hope you get there.
Appreciate
let me
it.
ask this. What's the best business advice anybody's ever given you?
Anyone's ever given me?
Yeah.
It's what I preach now. And it's 3 things. And like I was telling you, when I started at the bank, these were the 3 things. It was have good work ethic. I think, if you work hard, you'll reap the rewards. Be a student of the business, whatever business you're in, I think is critical. So whatever business you decide to go to, whether it's real estate or investments like you have been, Joe, or stock market or wealth advising or trucking or a restaurant business, understand that business and know it and study it. You never know, you will never know everything. And I think that's one thing. You got to stay humble. So being a student of the business kind of keeps you in check. So work ethic, be a student of the business. And then, like I said, be humble in business. As you grow and good things happen, you've just got to be humble. Remember what got you there, all the battles, and don't go. I always say, don't go too low, don't go too high. Stay even keel, celebrate your wins, learn from your mistakes, but stay humble. And for me, it's always been kind of the on to the next one mentality. So as long as you stay humble, I think that you'll be able to succeed. So whatever business arena you're in, the ABCs of that business, anyone can teach you. But again, if you're not working hard or don't have the work ethic, you're not learning the business or not continuously learning about the business, you're not staying humble, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah. Look, so final question. What advice would you give someone who's thinking about going into business for themselves? They just can't get themselves, past that, over the fence, or someone who's in business for the last year or two and might be struggling. Any advice for either one of them?
Yeah, so I think that's 2 different people. I think the first one, if they want to go into business, is just do it. I mean, and listen, if you're in your 60s and it's a different kind of risk, I understand. But if you're 22 years old and you want to do something, worst case, if you try it, it doesn't work out, you can always fall back to something else, or work that second job. We've had a lot of agents here that start off in their 20s going back and they want to do real estate full time, but it's a commission job. So they're working a second job, but they're trying to get going and really build their real estate business so they can get away from that job. So I think really just do it. And if you can take the risk, take it. And if you don't like it, it's okay. Fall back. It's okay to fail. I think that's the other thing. People are afraid to fail. Fear consumes them. So if they fail, they're going to think, oh, I'm not doing that, but try it. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. Go back to what you were used to. If it does work out, it's going to be very, very good. For the business owner that you were saying is in business, but what was the last part of it?
They might be struggling a little bit. They're a couple years in.
Yeah. Surround yourself with people that can help you. I think that's the biggest thing. So, you can go to there's local chapters and BNI groups and referral groups and things like that. Surround yourself. I think sometimes people struggle, and again, I think everything when you're an entrepreneur is fear-based. The what ifs.
Right.
What if this happens? Last year we were saying, okay, we're going to wait for rates to come down. Then the Fed said we're going to do 6 Fed cuts, and we were like, you can't wait. All the rates are going to come down. Well, they're definitely not even doing one. We don't even know if they're going to do one this year now. And it's like, what if? Just go out and just do your thing. And like I said, as long as you have the work ethic, you're learning the business, and you're staying humble about it. You will get rewarded. People are going to see your work ethic, and as long as you can continue doing that and you own your own business, just keep at it, and then from there. Typically the rewards will come. So that's the advice I would give. Surround yourself with people. Everyone's in a similar boat. I think that's the other thing. Everyone struggles. So get with people, figure it out, and then also just continue the work ethic and do what you have to do to be successful, and it'll turn out.
Right. That's great advice. Tryf, listen, I really appreciate you taking part of this interview series and jumping on here today. If somebody wants to get a hold of you for any of your real estate knowledge, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we've got 2 websites. The main one for the commercial company is called 3CRE.com, which is our company.
Okay.
And then the residential side is 3CREhomes.com. And my email is Tryf, Tryf, at 3CRE.com. So it's all over the website. You can see it. And if you want to contact me, shoot me an email. I'm very, very responsive, and we can set up a call.
All right, great. Listen, once again, really appreciate you taking a part of the interview series. Everybody that's out there listening, thanks for attending as well. We'll catch you on the next episode of Mastering the Numbers.
You've just experienced another insightful episode of Mastering the Numbers. We hope you enjoyed the journey and gained valuable insights to fuel your financial success. Don't forget to subscribe to Mastering the Numbers on your favorite podcast platform to never miss an episode. And be sure to leave us a review to let us know how we're doing. Until next time, keep pushing forward and let your entrepreneurial spirit soar. Thank you for listening.